You get Bush Light going in
Go
there.
to the Sweetwater.
Oh, sweet
So
water.
it's fucking it's episode something. We're here with the man, Justin Thomas. Is it? Can I go Egan or is it Eggen? Dude, that threw me off when I saw it. Egan, is it a hard Egan?
No, it's a hard Eggen.
Eggen, I knew it. I
You
fucking
know,
knew it.
when you go to the grocery store, do you buy eggs or do you buy eggs? You
Dude,
buy eggs. You
I
know what I'm
feel
saying?
you.
My
I
my
feel
dad
you.
always told me
I
that.
like it. I like it. I like it. So, I mean, I'm one of them, dude. Am I an Eggen stand? Because, bro, whatever you're like I don't know. You give me Eminem vibes a little bit, just like the hard bars you're dropping on us. Now, I didn't know anything about you until Bashu came out with that fire, whatever we want to call it. Is it a music video? Is it
I don't know. He dropped some like he dropped a video with my poetry. I think
oof, got the
yeah.
chest beaten?
It's one of those things. I think that the videos really help people get engaged with it, right? Because it's hard for people to want to read like the poetry on like a generalized, like if I just walk up to a random person like, hey, you want to read this poem, they'd be like, fuck off, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if you add some video of some like dope ass shit that we're all
Yeah,
intrigued about, we all actually understand, we all like, we're gonna go, okay, well, what's the message here?
gotcha.
What's happening here? So then it pulls people in.
The
So
image,
I
the,
think
the
it
imagery
helps.
helps everything, I'm sure, but
Definitely.
I mean, when I started, like when I hit your page and I just started reading, the one that what is it? Is it Red Blood
Uh, mm,
about the Helman River? Is that what it is?
yeah. The red blood calmly flows.
Dude, whoa. I was feeling that one, man. That one got me going. Just where now is that something you've always just been good at, or is it
I
just that you
mean,
get pumped up about the shit we did?
I honestly don't even know if I'm good at it. And to be honest with you,
Stop it.
I know it. I like.
Knock it off.
You shut up now. No, but at the end of the day, like I always have a problem with we all have insecurities, right? And
For sure.
I have insecurities of like is my poetry actually worthy of like people want like that want of people going, I like the way that this sounds, like the way that it flows. I mean, there are some poems where I sometimes do get the chills or whatever, but like I don't know. But I do believe that like I guess I don't want to say like, oh yeah, I'm good at writing poetry, but I don't know, man. Like at the end of the day, like when I was in middle school, I guess my mom bought me I'll start like I guess I'll start at the beginning, right? The
Okay.
beginning of where it
Put it
all
on us.
happened.
Put it
Right.
on
So
us.
my mom bought me Tupac's poetry book when I was
He
in like
he went
seventh
to
grade.
Tupac.
Well,
Okay.
that's what I always
Okay.
that's my go-to because that's my life. And
The
that's like
goat.
that's how I grew up, man. My mom always knew I was into Pac and stuff. So she bought me the Tupac poetry book and I read it a lot. And I was like, and I really like dove like really like if I'm not looking at the camera, my camera's like over here to the right and
No,
like
I
you're
do
in
do
the
the
middle
same
of my
thing. I have
screen.
it on my
So
TV and I have a laptop doing the
okay.
Zoom, so I'm in the same boat.
All right, cool. So my mom bought me this book and I was like, all right, so I started reading it and I really was pulled into like what he was saying and what he was saying about, him and his mother and him and the world that he grew up in, being impoverished and having not a lot of money and growing up and in circumstances that were kind of relative and I felt relative to what I was going through
For
at the
sure.
time as
For
a,
sure.
a 12-year-old, 11, 13-year-old kid,
It always hits
growing
different when you feel it like that.
yeah, exactly. And I was growing up sort of, I'm gonna say I was impoverished, you know what I mean? But like, I grew up with a single mother who worked a job and like it was, it wasn't always, the best of times
For sure.
one would say. It was always, it was always working and it was very working class, it was very you had to find you had to grit and go to work and they go to get your hands dirty and stuff, and that was kind of what I was drawn to with Tupac, right? I was really drawn to that realism of his connection to me and his connection to how he was able to connect, right? And I like poetry. So after a few, like middle school like women flings or whatever, I
Oh,
like
the
girlfriend
worst.
flings, yeah, the worst, right? So like
Tear your heart
they
out.
all they do is like kiss you up against a locker and they run away or some shit, right?
Facts. Facts.
So like so at the end of the day, like I wrote like bullshit post about that. Just whatever. I didn't connect with it, right? I
Okay.
didn't connect with writing poetry at that time. And but what stayed with me was Tupac, obviously. Tupac's his message, his connection. So then I went through high school, and then a bunch of bullshit happened in high school, blah 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 blah.
Fucking high school.
And yeah, high school was the worst, like it was the best and the worst of times,
Did you
obviously.
get a
But
lot of high school? Like, did you engage in it? You seem
um
like you're definitely smart.
I enjoyed high school a lot. I thoroughly enjoyed high school. I wasn't what you would call the quintessential like smart person in high school. I had like a 1.7 GPA. I was
Same
what
here.
I guess I was, just a fucking idiot.
No,
I
same
just
here.
didn't do well.
Yeah, me either.
I like to
I just
enjoy
didn't
my
take it
time.
seriously.
Right, yeah. I enjoyed my adolescence, I guess, like you could say. Like I enjoyed being young. I enjoyed being youthful. I enjoyed being careless and reckless and being able to be a juvenile and get away with certain aspects of life and not really having like real agency in the world, when people didn't take you serious. So like I took advantage of that. I took advantage of the time that I was living. I took advantage of 2005, 2006, those time periods of like growth of where I lived, and very all different angles of life I took advantage of because I wanted to live, I wanted to live a whole life. I wanted to, I didn't want to grow old and be like, well, what was that like? I went and I did it, and then I was like, okay, well, now I know I don't ever want to do that again. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
facts.
Like, sir,
Yeah.
there's certain things that you want to say, you think you want to experience when you're a young, when you're a kid and you're growing up, and you see things in movies, you see things in shows, you're like, I want to go experience that and see what it's like. And growing up in South Florida, I can, you can only imagine the things that you would see on TV and see on the news. You're like, I want to go experience that.
Some things are just
Um,
too real.
yeah, and you go experience it, and you're like, I got too close to the sun, I burnt
Yeah.
myself, and I don't ever want to go do this again.
Yep.
The story of Icarus. So at the end of the day, poetry was never a thing that I was really drawn to. But when I got into the Marine Corps and I got out of the Marine Corps, a lot of retrospection hit me as I got out of the Marine Corps. And the ones around me who loved me were like, listen, you need to go to like therapy, you got to go speak to somebody. So I spent a few years speaking to somebody like one-on-one at the VA vet centers. And if you're a veteran
So
out
you
there,
use the vet center as well?
yeah, so like if you're a veteran out there, like go, like I'm looking at camera now.
Yeah, plug that real quick because not a lot
Like
of people know about
if
the vet
you're
centers.
if you're a veteran, there's these things called vet centers, and they're all over the US. I think, I don't know, at least in Florida, they're around the VA, Veterans Affairs Office, like the hospital. And they're their own little satellite little auxiliary centers, and you can go there and you can get one-on-one VA counseling
Yep,
therapy, one like with them, counseling therapy sessions with them. And you sit down for an hour at a time and you speak to these people one-on-one, and it becomes a like an offload session for you. And
for sure.
it's very, very beautiful. And I honestly found it, oh man, fuck, I found it so beautiful, like at first. And
Well, how first off, how would you say it differs from the VA?
so the VA hospital is very much, just in my opinion, from what I've experienced, they've always helped me when I've had emergencies and instances that happen to
Yeah,
me. Like
yeah, exactly.
I got T-boned on my Harley going 45 miles an hour by an
That's
87
scary.
year old. So like I had the ambulance take me to the VA hospital. I blew my back out one time, like walking to a parking lot. I couldn't move. I was like hanging onto a curb. The ambulance was like, "We're gonna take you to this hospital." I was like, "No, you're gonna drive me to the VA hospital." And they're like, "That's gonna cost a lot more money." I was like,
Yeah, yeah, it
"You're gonna
does.
do it regardless because I'm a
Dude, I've been
fucking
there a few
veteran,
times too, dude.
and that's what's gonna happen." So they and the VA paid for it all, always. But the VA hospital is very much a hospital, and it's very much an institution, right? And they're very much there for the numbers, and they're very much there to get the process people and get things done. Well,
Yes.
if you get ahead of things and you know what you're doing, and you do your own research, and this is a big thing, do your own research.
Boom,
um
boom, boom.
yeah, do that a lot. Do that always, for everything, for education, for yourself, for your woman, for your child, for everybody. Do your own research for everything. Don't just like assume things, right? And don't just like assume people are going to do them for you. Go do
Exactly.
your own research and go get it done. So I did my own research, and I was like, well, what are these vet centers? I found a vet center, and with that, I met this therapist, and we talked for, I mean, we literally talked for shit, for years, right? We literally talked for 3 years at
Did
this
you at
point.
first, did you go back and forth through a little, or did you get lucky and just find one off the bat?
No, I found one right off the bat,
Oh, that's
and her,
awesome. Good for
and
you, bro.
I
Happy
don't
for
really
you.
know if I don't know if I'm like comfortable saying her name out loud. You
No,
know what I
no,
mean?
absolutely not. No.
But like, she was a great human being, and she was, she always was really like steered me in a very good direction, and that's why I always say like use a vet center, because
Yeah,
the vet
for
center
sure.
is
Yeah,
there for
they're
you.
not pushing anything on you. They
No,
just show you the options and they educate you and they let you know what you can do. And they might
right.
just talk with you about it. So I mean,
And
hats off to them.
my thing with the vet center is that as soon as I got there, there was like an student intern or somebody working there that was like front desk or whatever, that was like from a high school or something, and like, oh, who are you, da da da, and you're like, oh, I'm this person, oh, and they put your name down, and you go back in there, and all the walls were like lined with like these beautiful stories of all these
Yep,
Vietnam
mine too. That's
veterans and
funny.
all these Korean veterans and all these like amazing stories of all these men that were like from the area of like Palm Beach County and from the area of South Florida, and they would put these things on there, and then it was very 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 touching. And then when I would go speak to the lady, we would speak, and after I don't know how many sessions it took me, but at some point she was like, listen, you seem to be wanting to open up about what you've gone through, so what I suggest is that we do this type of therapy. And that type of therapy was I honestly can never remember the name of it, but basically like, no, like I closed my eyes,
Oh,
and I went through every single traumatic event that like I considered a traumatic event for me overseas. I went through and I said it out loud, but I explored every detail, every sensory detail. So like every detail on how it smelled, every detail on how it felt, every detail on how it tasted, how it looked, how it what is
made
the
you
other,
feel in the moment. Yep.
yeah, like what is the other, there's five senses: touch, taste, feel. Fucking idiot. I'm stupid about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I
Like,
am too.
so
Don't worry about it.
I don't know. I just
This is an
assume
enlisted
it's,
podcast, bro. It's
yes,
all good.
yeah. But basically like all five of the senses you have to go over, and you have to explore how they are. So it's a touch, taste, smell, sight, touch, taste, smell, sight.
I'm gonna look it up.
You can edit this out, dude.
No, it's fine. I gotta find that now.
I never even say a bunch of idiots. What is the other? I mean, when it's gonna come to us, and when it comes to us, it's gonna be so reverent. We're gonna
I
be like,
know, I know.
ah,
It's gonna
that's what
bug
it
me though.
is, and then we're just avoiding
Well,
it.
how long have you gone to a vet center?
I stopped. I stopped in like 2016.
It's
Or
hard,
no,
dude. It's hard to, dude.
2017.
It's hard to do with work. Let's be real, dude. I mean,
Well,
if
I
you're
wasn't. Well, but before we get into work, I mean, you know, um, the vet center gave me the ability to understand my emotions more and understand my trauma, I guess. So the vet center gave me the ability to go out on my own. Doesn't matter about a job so far yet, because I didn't have a job. I was just living my life, I was just doing whatever I want, at that point. And I really couldn't hold a job, so um yeah, so like at the end of the day, like the vet center allowed me to live my life in a way that it allowed it. I was okay with what happened overseas. One, two, I could talk about what happened overseas. Three, not only could I talk about what happened overseas, I could articulate
there's a big difference.
every
Yeah,
single feeling about every single moment that I had overseas, because I spent a year and a half doing that every fucking week with this lady.
that.
Hearing is the other one. Sorry.
Got it.
Fucking, I'm an idiot.
How to get it. You're going real quick, dude. I mean, this isn't easy stuff to talk about, and and I'm big on having these hard conversations just to try to open up and get other people talking about it, but actually understanding why you felt something in the moment that causes you immense anxiety or stress is a very freeing feeling to a certain degree. And I mean, it doesn't, I wouldn't say it really cures anything, but understanding why helps a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, if anybody understands the why behind anything, you're gonna go do it, right? I mean, if you want to do it, right? If that why is convicting, if it's convicting, convicting is the word. I don't know. Convincing. If it's convincing enough, dude, I'm all over the place. Anyway,
You're good. You're good. It's Friday, bro.
if it's convincing enough, if you want to believe it, if you believe in it enough, and you have that why, and that why, it doesn't matter what it is, but you understand that why, you'll go do it, and you'll accomplish whatever it is that you need to go accomplish, because
That's
you
a
have a
fact.
why, you have a justification for your actions and what you're doing, right? So no matter what, but it also, that justification in your actions and that why needs to be pure in a sense, right? It needs to also be pure, because you can't go around being like some sort of like evil dark entity doing
No, I
things
hear
and
you.
justifying it because you're saying, oh, I justify. Well, that's, you're being you're being malicious in that
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
But regardless of any of that, dude, what were we talking about? We were talking
Well,
about poetry, just
yeah,
in
we kind of
event
went
center.
off there. We kind of went off there.
I
Yeah.
always go off on everything. I go on tangents, dude. Always, really. That's
No,
my
I
mind
like
is
those are
like,
the good conversations though, dude. Like the getting down to the nitty gritty about things like I really enjoy doing.
my mind is always it's always so scatterbrained, and I feel like that's how there's I don't know, I've produced 10 books in the amount of years that I've been writing
10,
poetry.
10 books.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 10,
Good
yeah,
for you,
10.
dude.
Yeah,
What
there's a lot going on, you know what I
bro,
mean? So
where do you I mean, going through what we go through, you tend to have a drop off of motivation because it's looking for a purpose, looking
mm,
for something I don't have anymore. I'm not around the people that understand me. You tend to lose that push, that drive. Where do you find it now? What's motivating you to do this?
I'm optimistic, man, honestly. I feel like I try to be like an optimistic person in my life, and I try to be um positive, but there's always those moments where you're alone with your family or whatever, and you have those like dark moments
For sure.
where you take those lulls. But ultimately, if you're consistent with your optimism, and you're consistent with that baseline of what you want to accomplish and who you want to be, and if you understand that fully, then no matter what happens, no matter what happens around you, you will persevere through that.
It'll become a constant for you. It'll become
Yes,
a
exactly. That's how you will operate. You will live in that lifestyle. You will live in that sphere. You will be moving forward. You will be doing better. You'll be educating and learning and growing and becoming a better person as you move forward in life, instead of stalling and being stuck on these whatever they are and around you, because you have to be a guide. You have to be a guiding light for the people that are around you, right? Because
that's
it
real.
doesn't matter
Yeah.
who's around you, right? It could be somebody that you work with that you maybe don't like because of their attitude. Well, what's wrong with their attitude? Have you like taken just a moment, maybe not a day or a bunch, but have a day to go through, like, just think about their life just for a second, and then go,
Not a
all
lot of
right, well,
people do
maybe,
that.
dude, no, not at all. So if you just try to envision it for a moment, right, and you go, all right, well, and I'm not saying rationalize why this person's a douchebag, right? But what I'm saying is that try to understand certain aspects, so then you can better have a, a perception, or a framework of why, right? We're talking about why, right? So you want to have a framework of why this person maybe be like this. We'll be like, all right, well, if that is why, well, if this is why, well, then fuck that. Or if this is why, well, then okay. But whatever the case is, you have to be able to understand that yourself and not get emotionally attached to it, and then allow yourself to devolve into something where you're some fucking primate and you're getting into arguments and you're yelling and you're screaming. Because yes, that all happens, but at the end of the day, like, we're better than that, dude. Like I said, we have to be the
Facts.
guide around it. Like, people
Facts.
around us would need to see that we're that pillar. You know what I
That's
mean?
something we need to hang on, man. That
Right.
really, we were there at one point. I mean, that didn't leave. That's something that can always be a constant or a north, star
Right.
for us to some certain degree. And it's helped me multiple times. So now I want to give my listeners kind of a perspective on you a little bit. First of all, why Marines? What was it?
So there's two things I feel like that happened in my life, right? There was one, my grandpa. I asked my grandpa about the military. He had two brothers that were in the army, and a brother-in-law that was in the army, and
Okay,
they're
so it's
both
kind of
there.
in the family to a certain
All three
degree.
of them were
Okay.
in World War II, and one of them was a tank driver. The other one was an infantryman on D-Day. They ran into each other in France somehow, and the brother-in-law was like a cavalryman, and he ran a radio wire on a horse. So there was that, and then we were on a road trip one time and asked my grandpa, "Hey, what are Marines?" You know, like I was like, I don't know, like 12 or 13. I said, "Hey, what are Marines?" And he said, "Oh, Marines are crazy. They eat snakes." And I said, "What does that mean?" You know, and he goes, "Well, I once knew a guy, and he would take off for, whatever, 3 weeks, 4 weeks at a time, and he would go live in the mountains of like the Appalachian Mountains for like, whatever it was, a month at a time out of the year. And he would come back and his wife didn't mind. And he would go live up there and he would like hunt bear, like with his bare hands and shit.
Savage it
No,
out a little bit.
yeah. And he was like in Nam or Korea or something, my grandpa said. And he worked him at the phone company because my grandpa used to put up like telephone lines and stuff. And he was a lineman. And he was like, yeah, this guy was fucking nuts, but he was crazy. So that was the first instance I had with the Marines. Right? So that was the first like seed that was in
So
my
that
head.
stuck with you a little bit.
That
Okay.
stuck with me. I was a kid. I was like, God damn, they eat snakes and shit. They go to the woods and kill
Sounds fucking
bears.
great.
Yeah, it's like, I was like, this is insane. So, and mind you, I didn't have like I was raised by my really like around my mom for like, like 80% of my life. I was raised around my mom. So like my mom didn't explore the military with
Of
me, you know what I'm
course. Of
saying?
course. Yeah.
Obviously. So like it wasn't like a thing. Um, Other than like there was certain times where she took me to like book events where dudes would read books that were like they wrote books from like when they were Vietnam. It's like prisoner of wars, whatever, which was like badass. And she like brought me to like build my character, and
Gotcha.
stuff like that, which was cool. But the second instance was my dad. One of his friends was like going through some shit one time when I was like a little bit older than my grandpa's story, so I knew what Marines were at this point. And he was like, there was a dress blue like white cover on top of my dad's in one of his bedroom in one of the rooms somewhere of his house. He was like storing it or whatever with a bunch of like EGAs, and like he was hanging up some like dress blues of the house, whatever, and it had ribbons and stuff, and it was like a corporal. And I didn't know what it was at the time, whatever. And I was asking my dad, I was like, what is all this shit? Like, what is, and actually, I mean, now that we're talking about it, that memory brings me back. I was a little kid. Maybe my dad had that for a while from this guy. But my dad said that his friend was in the Marine Corps and he, like, needed a place to keep his shit. Right. So my dad was like, all right, well, you can keep it at my house or whatever. So my dad had it for like however long. And now that I'm thinking about it, like I do remember that dress blue cover being in my dad's house for a longer time maybe when I was a little bit younger kid, but I never really recognized it. Um, so that was like the second instance, and I guess like what really pulled me in was like everybody always was like, oh, the Marine. When you go through high school, everybody's like, oh, the Marines are the hardest, the hardest branch or whatever, whatever the case is. And then when I was 17, I tried to join the army. So I tried joining the army when I was 17, and I tried going airborne. I wanted to go airborne and go jump out of planes because that's fucking cool.
Yeah, it
And I
is.
love jumping out of fucking planes, and that shit's dope. So,
Yeah, it is.
and you're doing it like a rifle, and you're jumping in like combat, and you're
Actually,
like,
come on. Let's be
like doing
real.
cool shit. Yeah,
Fucking
exactly.
jumping
Like
out of planes, bro.
with a fucking gun, you know what I mean? Like with
Come
a
on.
with a with a gap piece, so
It's
it's
high
sick.
speed.
Yeah. So, very low drag. So I was my mom said no. She was like, no, I'm not gonna sign this and you're not gonna do this. I was like, okay. So she's like, something better will come along. You're 17 years old, you need to wait. And I was like, all right, well, if that's the case, I'm gonna ball out. So I went hard at the end of high school, and I was like doing a lot of like nefarious shit, like getting a lot of trouble, like a lot of like felonious type shit. You know what I'm saying? So
Don't
after
be
high
young once,
school,
bro.
yeah, dude, like we talked about earlier, I'm saying? You're only young once, you gotta live that life. So I was started working at the airport with my cousin. He got a badass job like cleaning private airplanes at the Palm Beach
Really?
the Palm Beach International Airport, right next to my house right now. But it was, right in our neighborhood. So I started cleaning private planes there, and we were cleaning like what planes did we clean? We cleaned the Michael Jordan plane, I believe.
Stop it.
Yeah, he had like the Jordan logo on the back of the plane. It was like Tar Heel colors. His because like the tail
That's a name
numbers.
drop, bro. Come on now.
Yeah, well, we
MJ?
didn't know him and shit. Like,
No,
not at all,
come on,
dude.
dude.
Not at all. But we like cleaned like planes and shit. Like Greg, you know
Badass.
Greg Norman, the golfer?
Of course.
Yeah, we would clean his plane. He had that little shark. He had that little
Yep.
like that
Yep.
little shark
Yep.
logo on the back of his on his thing. And so we cleaned a bunch of private planes, and it was pretty tight, and it was a good gig, you know, because at nighttime the private planes don't fly because you know these motherfuckers they got money, so they can fly during the daytime. They don't got to fly at night or whatever. So we would always clean at night. And there was one night where, or there was one day where we were at work. It was like 5:15 at night, and George Bush landed at Palm Beach International Airport. He was doing
JW.
his, yeah, GW.
G-Dub.
G-Dub. He was landed George.
Friday.
He landed at Palm Beach International. I was like, all right, this is tight. So he landed, and his helicopter squadron HMX-1 was in. Like, they like parked their helo inside the hangar that we were in. And the hangar that we were in, when you washed the towels, because we use towels to clean private planes, and when you washed and if you washed the towels and you dried the towels at the same time, it would shut the hangar lights off. Right, because like the power would just cut it off.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like, and it would cut it off. It would kill the power because it was just too much. And for some reason, we were doing it that night. And me and my cousin went out to go smoke. Like he was smoking cigarettes, and I was going out to go hang out with him. And I went out to go hang out with him, smoke a cigarette. Maybe I was smoking a cigarette too. I don't know. But we were hanging out, and
Smoking and swearing, dude. Come on.
Yeah. So basically, like the power went out, and these Marines, his security detail, the president's like security detail around the helicopter, like snapped too, bro.
For
Like
real?
it was the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like it was
They balled out real quick.
It was dope. Like I mean, all you heard was like all their gear snapping into place, and then you just heard their steps slowly walking around the hangar with like all their NVGs on, and they were just like cruising the fuck around, like waiting to fucking kill somebody, dude. Like it was pretty dope.
Gave
And
you a
I
little
was like,
chub, didn't it?
I was like, this is
Come
pretty
on.
cool.
Come
I was
on.
like, and I was like, this is not bad. Like this is a pretty good gig. And then after the power came back on or whatever, you know, you know, we told them what happened to Washington. Like, oh, okay, blah blah. And we started talking to them, and one of one of the security detail there was this girl named Kelsey DeSantis, bro, and she's like a fighter for she was like a fighter for the Marine Corps or something like this.
Really?
She got hella popular, bro. She like became like really popular like in the Marine Corps and like outside the Marine Corps, I think too. You know what I mean? Like, she was like a dog handler, I believe, and then she became like a fighter and shit, like in the Marine Corps. She was like, you know, nobody knew it. Obviously, we didn't know at the time. She was like, you know, we met her and she was like, you know, this is what I do, blah blah. And we're like, oh, blah blah. And we bullshitted. And she was like, yeah, you guys should check out the Marine Corps, whatever. And we're like, all right, we'll go talk to the recruiter or whatever. So my cousin was going to join the Navy because his cousin was in the Navy. His other cousin from his other side of the family was like in the Navy. So he went to go talk, and he wanted to be a police officer. So he wanted to go do like MP shit in the Navy. So we went and talked to the Navy recruiter, and the Navy recruiter was like, what about you? I was like, man, fuck off. I'm joining the Marine Corps. He's like, all right. Like, he's like, you don't got to be a dick. I was like, bro, I'm not trying to be a dick, but like, I wasn't saying anything, and you started speaking to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck, I'm just over here in the corner, bro. Like, but anyway, I went and spoke to the Marine Corps recruiter after that. I went to the other place, and my cousin was like, bro, I want to join the Navy. I was like, bro, fuck the Navy, dude. I was like, you don't want to go on a boat, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to go, if you want to go do some shit, you want to go on the ground. You want to, you know what I'm saying? You want to go to fucking Fallujah, my dude. You want to go to Iraq.
Gang,
You
gang.
know what I'm saying? You want to go do some shit. You know what
Fuck
I'm saying?
yeah.
I was like, you want to be on the ground, bro. Fuck all that. You don't want to be in the mountains. You don't want to be doing anything. You want to be on the ground. You want to be on the ground doing something. You know what I'm
Because
saying?
fuck
Like,
those motherfuckers.
I was like, because first of all, I've seen Titanic, bro. I don't want to be on a boat. I don't want to be that steam dude, the steam engine guy on the boat when it sinks, bro. Like, I'm good. So that's my biggest, like, I was like, I'm good. That's like one of my biggest fears, bro. I'm good on that, bro. Like,
dude, no one wants to be that guy, dude.
bro, stuck in a boat going
fucking
down.
drowning. You just have enough air to worry.
No, yeah, you just have enough air to go. That's it. I'm fucked. You know what I mean? I would accept it, of course. You know, I would accept it, but I wouldn't be happy about it. Of course, I don't think anybody is. Dude. It's easy to say. I wouldn't be happy about it. I'd be fucking crying my eyes out,
anxiety.
Dude. I'd be crying my eyes out, dude.
Right? I'd be a little bitch, dude.
Yeah. I'd be shitting my fucking pants,
right? Oh, everywhere.
I'd bang my head against the wall until I knocked out or something. Dude,
I don't know what I would do.
I'd find a piece of steel and just like cut my wrist. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it anyway. But
was that weird or?
No, but my cousin was like, he's like, I'm joining the Navy. I was like, nah, bro, don't do it. And the recruiter that we were with was like, bro, why you gotta join the Navy? And he was like, I don't know, he's like, I'm going to. And the recruiter's like, no, you're not. And my cousin was like, no, I'm not.
Oh, you guys buddied up?
Oh, we buddied on a buddy program. We left on a buddy program, and
me and my boy did that too.
Yeah, that's tight, dude. We went
Yep.
on. I think I saw that on one of your shows. Yeah,
Yep.
you talked about that. Yeah, me and my cousin went on a buddy program. We left on Mother's Day, 2008, dude.
Ooh, broke her heart, dude.
No, not at all. She was happy as fuck. I was leaving. She would like go and do something with my life. You know what I mean? Or like thinking that I was gonna
No,
go
I
do
hear you. I
something
hear
with my
you.
life. You know what I mean? Little did she know, like I'd go and like break my fucking shoulder and like
Get
become
all
a turd
fucked
and
up.
get
Yeah,
NJP'd and be an asshole. You know what I
bro.
mean?
I feel like we went through the same life.
It sucked, but
That's
it's
that's kind
okay
of that's
now.
kind of that's kind of the typical route though of a a normal Marine, dude. If you're worth a
Well,
shit, if you're worth a shit, dude, you're a shit starter, bro. You know
well,
what
the
I'm
last
saying?
I talked to some Marines nowadays that are in now, and they say now that like if you get an NJP, bro, like that's the end of your career essentially. You're not gonna
That
be able to re-enlist. You're not gonna be able to do anything. It's all about buddy fucking everybody over and doing
I've heard that multiple times, dude. I've heard that.
for at least for enlisted. And I'm not speaking for the O side. I'm speaking for the E side. I'm speaking for enlisted. E4 and below was what I'm speaking on. I'm not speaking on E5 because I got out as an E5 and that was it. I didn't get out as anything above that or whatever. I didn't have a college degree. I got a college degree in 2021, bro. Like I'm not like some officer in 2011. You know what I'm saying? Like I was a fucking idiot. So like, well,
I really hope
2011
I really hope
was
it's
not
not
bad.
like that, dude. I hope some real ones out there are doing it right, dude. I mean,
Well, they're
it's
not. I mean,
something that we're proud about, dude, because we know we did it at the highest level. You know what I'm saying? Like we
well, that's
we
always that's that saying, right? That's that saying of like, man who's never been tested will never know his true worth, and therefore he is always going to be unsatisfied, and then
boom
he will always be, upset with the ones around him and
questioning
upset with himself.
if I could do that
Right. So
or
at least like, and I don't want to say like, well, there's not ways to go and test yourself and be and find that part of you because you don't need combat. You don't need to be
no.
blown up. You don't need a country, and you don't need the American war machine behind you to make you think that you need to be something that you're not, right? Because at the end of the day, like you can find that in anything, right? And I mean, I was feeling like kind of like a piece of shit for the last, couple like for like at least like the last year when it came to my books, like personally, like professionally, I was doing well, like with my
See, I
job
don't,
and
dude,
wife and
I
stuff,
don't
but
know your like Marine Corps career that well, so I'm trying to like put that together from what you're telling me.
oh, bro,
And
let's talk about it, dude.
now were you
Let me
a
stop. Let me go on tangents.
dude? It's hard because they're interesting. Now, were you a join as you said you were EOD, correct?
No, dude. So I joined as no. So I was not EOD. So I was a 1371 combat engineer.
Combat engineer, got you.
So
Okay.
I was not EOD. I was on the lowest of the totem pole when it comes to demolition. You know what I mean? Well, yeah, actually, you know what? 0351s were the fucking lowest before they got relegated into nothingness. But they were the fucking lowest on the totem pole. And then came combat engineers, and then came fucking EOD, and then came whatever SF EOD dudes are. You know what I mean? Like the demo dudes.
Gotcha.
So
Regardless, you're important over there. You're in a
something.
very I mean, I don't know if you can train for that shit, man. Honestly, I feel like we got like IED defeat before we went over there or IED training and
We didn't get
you
any. Listen, I joined the Marine Corps 2008, and it was
same
like
here.
Iraq was getting like, well,
Coming down,
there's these
Afghan was
trash
just heating up.
bags. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's like these
yeah.
trash bags on the side of the road, and there's these 155 rounds, and that's what an IED is. Well, when I got to my unit, we had a company that went over to Afghanistan. They were like one of the very first. They
Really?
were like with that first infantry in
What
like one
unit
of
was this
those.
again?
The second Combat Engineer Battalion.
Okay.
So it was Charlie Company, Combat Engineer Battalion, like the end of 2008. Like they left in like I would say like I don't know November, December of '08, and they went over there, and within like a month we lost an engineer. He got sniped by a sniper, right? And because engineers are in the front of patrol
RIP to a real one.
with the Corporal Stroud. He was cool. I literally met him for like a day or two, and we all met Charlie Company for like a day before they left, and then they all dipped out. And I remember seeing him there, and I remember them being like, yeah, like
Fuck.
he KIA, like there was a sniper. I guess I don't want to call them like Taliban snipers, but like he goes like a marksman, like took him out. You know
No,
what I mean? With a good
actually,
shot, I guess. You know
yeah.
what I mean? With a spot on shot. So um, so
So,
that's so that was like my introduction to like the unit. Like, I got the unit within like a month or two. Like that's the first thing that happened. And
So you know it was real out there, dude.
yeah, and I was like, this is no fucking joke.
Yeah.
And
It's so weird verbalizing it, dude, because we were taught to just, it was so normal. You know what I mean? When you actually talk about it, you kind of realize, like, dude, holy fucking shit.
yeah, it's not normal when you talk about people getting shot in the face.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
You know, not at all. But at the end of the day, like when I was there, it was definitely like it was you know, of course it was a normal thing because that's, you know, the unit lost, I think, like a few guys in Iraq, and I lost a few wounded in action in Iraq, but it was nothing comparatively to like what happened in Afghanistan, because what happened in
facts.
Afghanistan and Nowzad, we lost a lot of guys in that, and initially from engineers losing, you know, their legs and then going on a bird, and then, you know, losing blood on the bird and then dying out on the bird, just things like that. So there was things that were happening every so often. And I just posted about it just the other day, but my roommate, Corporal Anthony Williams, I wrote a poem about him in my book, and I read it and I made a reel about it, and I posted about it. But my roommate, you know, he came over from Okinawa. He's a 3-year Marine. He like went to Iraq on some BS mission, didn't really do anything, you know, he didn't see any combat or anything, but he came back, came over to our unit, and they needed combat replacements because, again, Corporal Stroud got shot and some other dudes got hurt in that company. So you know, he volunteered to go over there, and when he went over there, you know, he was over there he left, when is the Super Bowl? The beginning of February. So he left like a
Right?
couple weeks before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, yeah.
Like whenever the NFC and like AFC championships like were announced or whatever, like
Yep.
the winners, like he left around that time frame.
That's how you
And
remember it. That's
yeah,
funny.
for sure, because we talked about it. We had a bet about the Super Bowl. You know, him and I had a bet about who was going to win the Super Bowl, and he's like, "Oh, this is who's going to win." And I didn't know who. I don't remember who played, but I remember him and I had that conversation in our barracks room. And you know, there was a lot of nights that him and I spent talking and stuff. And you know, he left, and on March 22nd, he was killed. He was killed by an IED.
Fuck.
He's you know, I guess I won't tell the story that I was told by the dudes that were over there with him, you know what I mean? But the story is fucked, you know what I mean? Like
Come on, dude.
essentially
Give me a
like
little bit of that.
they were just like, it was at nighttime basically. Like they were at night, and there was a, you know, somebody was, you know, a higher up was like, we're gonna sweep, we're gonna go out, we're gonna go do this. And basically they're like, we shouldn't go do this, it's nighttime. And you know, he was, again, a fresh you know,
Yeah,
Marine
facts.
who
Facts.
wanted to go and
Call it what it was.
who
Yeah.
wanted to go and who wanted to go be and do Marine things, you know. And he went with the overwhelming majority of Marines that were like, we're gonna go do this, you know, we're gonna go on this patrol, I guess. And that is what was told to me. So I'm not gonna,
It is what
you
it
know,
is, dude. Yeah.
that's that, you know. I wasn't there, so I don't really know the facts of the situation. I don't want to say this is what happened, but I'm saying that that's what was told to me at the end of the day, you know what I mean? And that's what I will say. I will speak to that. I'm not playing telephone. That's literally what was said. So
Yeah.
um
RIP to a real one right there.
yeah, so he was my dog. And then once that happened, I was like, man, this is fucked. And I haven't even been here. I haven't even been here for a year. You know, I haven't even been in this life. I haven't even been in the military for a
Fuck,
full year
that's got to hit
yet,
you
you
different,
know.
dude.
Yeah, I was like, I wasn't in the military for a full year. I was only in for maybe like 9 months or 10 months at that time. And I was like, this is fucked up, dude. Like, one, we lost a couple of guys initially at the end in that time frame, and then my roommate got killed, and then that fucked me up. And then, you know, I just tried to, because my shoulder broke at the, you know, my shoulder shattered in like a few places, and I ripped a bunch of tendons in my shoulder, so I couldn't do anything. So I was like waiting for surgery. So I finally got surgery when my battalion deployed to Afghanistan.
Shit.
So I got surgery, and I got surgery on October 26, 2009, and my battalion left on October 20th, I believe October 26,
For real?
2009. Yeah, for real. Like they left on the same day. Like I remember, like I
Oh, so you
remember
were
like
salty as shit,
I
dude.
was so fucking mad, dude. And I told my friends, I was like, listen, bro, if my shoulder heals, I'm gonna come over there. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I can to come over there.
Of
And
course, dude. That's gonna break your heart to see
it
all your
broke my
boys
heart,
go,
bro,
dude.
because like so when I got to my unit, I was, you know, effectively like the fire team leader, bro. They're like, this dude is on point. He knows what the fuck is up. He's very responsive. He's aware. He's here. He's here in the moment. He's getting shit done. These other dudes listen to him. They're cool as fuck, because at engineer school, I don't want to say
Talk
like I
about that
was,
feeling real quick, dude. Talk about banging on all cylinders and having guys under you.
bro.
and just
That's, I mean,
that supreme feeling of confidence of knowing
so
your job all the way in and out.
it happened initially that time, right? It happened first when I was, so there was a few times it happened in the Marine Corps. The very first time was in boot camp. I was a squad leader in boot camp, and I got selected to be squad leader because I was on point with like whatever I was doing that the senior drill instructor liked. And that felt really good, right? It felt really good. But then I got demoted because I blew out my throat and I was like spitting up blood. I thought I had like some sort of like lung disease. So I was out for like a couple hours and they literally removed me. So that sucked. And then when I was at engineer school, I scored a 100% on our demolition test. So if you scored 100% on the demolition test, then you were able to be the one that held the clicker up close and personal on the ring of C4 that was we were able to blow at the end of it. So like you were like real shit. You weren't 300, 400 yards away. You were fucking 60 feet away. And you're going,
yeah, the blast hits different when you're close to it, dude.
It's a different story, bro.
That force smacks you.
All of the instructors were like, all right, dude, on 3, click it. We're gonna go into the bunker. Just sit behind the berm. I was like, all right. And I'm looking over the berm. They're just like, just stay watching over the berm. And I'm sitting there like this, bro. Like with the clicker in my fucking hand over here. And I'm sitting there looking at the berm. And they're like, and they literally walk into a fucking bunker into the ground, bro. And they're like, 3, 2, 1. And I click it. And I'm literally, dude, the shockwave. I'm sitting there just.
Damn, dude.
And it was fucking sick. I mean, it was one of the sickest things I've ever experienced in my fucking life.
So something honestly, I often talk about, dude, is when you're close to something like that, and when you see the Marine Corps force come together, dude, I'm talking ordnance, I'm talking JDAMs, I'm talking,
tow missiles,
tow missiles, intersecting field of fire, big shit hitting at the same time, coordinated attacks, offensive maneuvers, dude. It's just to see it come together is just beautiful. Wow. That's something that
symphony.
That's something that ties into you, dude, because I'm a fucking dork, dude, but I'm a fucking savage, dude. And before I went to boot camp, I remember this the thing that was out, and I don't fucking hate on me all you want, I don't care. I saw 300, bro, and I'm talking
great movie.
My brain did a flip flop, dude, and I was like, this is what I want to do with my life.
Yeah,
just want to go and just fucking.
I mean, it's a great movie, dude. Honestly, I love that movie.
It hits on so many different aspects of war, and it's very real. And so where was I going with that? I mean, you go on some tangents, bro.
I do. So we're talking about leadership, right? In the Marine Corps, and when I got to my unit, they were like, all right, this dude's gonna, and I scored 100% on my my demolition test. So then when I got to my unit, there was a few dudes that were in engineer school that came with me to North Carolina. So they all knew, like, I knew my shit. So they weren't going to fuck with me, right? They weren't going to be like, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot. They weren't going to try to take over or whatever the case was. And, I don't want to say that I have whatever the case is, but I feel like I have like an A-type personality. I'm very much aware of like who I am and like very much confident in like the abilities that I can carry and what I can do. So I was like, yeah, bro, like I'm definitely carrying this fucking team. Like we're going to do this shit. You know what I mean? And I got to my unit and I was like running a fucking show for a little bit. And, I had like supportive elements to my little, orchestra that I had going of like the 4 or 5 guys that I was like running or whatever. But it was a good time for sure. And then, like I broke my fucking shoulder playing ultimate goddamn frisbee, dude. And that seriously set me back and that made me emotionally upset. And then I started going down bad roads. I got NJP'd, I got NJP'd for underage drinking. I did some bad shit. I went to fucking jail for a prank phone call.
Whenever you get in trouble in the Marines, dude, they put the fear of God in you. You think you're gonna die and you're not gonna live again or succeed again.
My experience, I feel like, honestly, God, bro, was one of the best experiences I feel like I've ever experienced. Because what happened was is that I made a mistake. I did a prank phone call drunk with a bunch of other Marines. We were all making prank phone calls. And it just so happened that I prank phone called a fucking state park in Virginia, and they evacuated the state park because no, for real, this is what happened, because they misinterpreted what I said. And when that happens to you, you realize, oh, I fucked up.
Yeah.
I need to never do something like this again, because this is something that affected people's lives on a level that I can't comprehend, because I'm a 20-year-old. Oh, actually, I'm a 19-year-old fucking
Exactly.
idiot, you know, and
Yeah.
I don't know my ass or my hands. So I accepted that with the full responsibility of what happened, you know, and with that, the people that I accepted that responsibility with, they kind of took advantage of that, and they called my unit. And when they called my unit,
Why would you do that?
right,
Why do people do that? They don't understand what that does to somebody.
right.
I,
Well, the my sergeant major went off on this person, bro. My sergeant major was like, well, first of all, who the fuck are you to tell
exactly.
me about my
Yeah.
Marines and to tell me about who the fuck my Marines are calling, blah, blah, whatever the case is. So my sergeant major, they put me on some sort of like PTAT leave or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know what the fuck it's called, but they put me on some sort of like leave where I got paid to go up to Virginia, turn myself in, handle my legal shit, you know, come back, get a lawyer, go back like 2 months later, go to jail for like 4 or 5 days. And that when I went to turn myself in, the dude who was prosecuted, was like press the charges, came and harassed me inside the jail, and they used that footage. My lawyers used that footage with the judge, and the judge would like went off on the guy who would like
Bro,
press, who
you've
was
been through
trying to
some
press
shit,
charges.
dude. Jesus
Oh, dude,
Christ.
and
Up and
I
down.
was standing there in my fucking in my green alphas like a boot motherfucker with two fucking ribbons, like
What's up, guys?
hello, you know, like fuck me, I'm going to jail forever. Like I'm facing 15 years in fucking prison,
Damn.
dude. Fuck my life,
Are
you
you
know.
serious?
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, it was fucking miserable. It was goddamn terrible. So that was my
This
I wasn't even in the
is
Marine Corps
is
within the
this
first
year
year.
two? Is this
No, I
year?
was this is
This
in the
is
same this is when I got NJP'd. I got NJP'd around the same time my roommate was killed.
oh my God.
Like in the same month, effectively. In the same month. I got NJP'd in on like April 20th or April 19th. And
Dude, you're spiraling.
my roommate got killed on like March 22nd. It was miserable, dude. It sucked. And all that was fucking miserable. So and then in October my unit leaves and all my friends leave, and I'm stuck there with like a fucking in a fucking sling like a jackass, you know, like taking a
Recipe
bunch
for
of Percocets,
disaster.
and I can't
Yep,
even
dude.
fucking wipe my own
Talk
ass,
that
you know what I
shit.
mean?
That's real
So
shit right there, man.
I went through my shit, you know what I mean? And everybody made fun of me for a while at my unit, bro. They're like, "Oh, aren't you that guy that made that prank phone call like a fucking retard or whatever?" And I was like, "Man,
Yeah,
god damn,
yeah,
this sucks," you know.
that's me.
So I've
Yeah.
tried to get through that, you know. And then I had my surgery in October. My unit was gone, and then what happened in our unit, a few guys were killed and some guys got wounded in action, like lost their legs, they were inoperable and stuff like that. So they needed combat replacements. And I was at a point, it was like, I don't know, man, just like the end of December. And I just had a surgery on, you know, October 26th. So it was October 26th, November, and then the end of December. So, you know, 2.5 months, you know, 2 months in like a week. And I told my doctor, I was like, listen, dude, I don't give a fuck what you have to do. You need to sign off on this piece of paper that says that I'm okay to do fucking pull-ups and have a hike and have a hump and then go on a ruck and have a do pull-ups. And I was like, oh bullshit, you need to sign this off. Yeah, I was like, please, man. I was like, just if you don't do this, I'm gonna like get medically like separated from the military, and I cannot go back to Florida. I was like, I cannot go back home. Yeah, I was like, please, God, dude. I was at the Naval Hospital on Campus June, just like begging this fucking guy, bro. He was looking at me. He's like, I really shouldn't. He's like, you need to be at least like at home doing therapy for another like 6 months. I was like, bro, I cannot. Like, I cannot stress you enough how much I cannot do that. Like if you put me on that path, I will not recover from
It's
that.
gonna be
And
all bad.
yeah, you need to not like. I told him. I think I said something along the lines of like, "You're going to dramatically like impact the rest of my life if you don't let me do this." You know, like
Damn.
something like that. Like you know, it
You
was
kept it
very
all the way a
impactful.
buck with him though.
Well, like real as fuck. I was like, "This is what's happening." You know what I mean? And he was like, all right, you know, and he signed a piece of paper. I took it back to my unit, and my name was the
Damn.
first name on that fucking piece of paper of 13 names that went overseas. And we left in January,
Damn.
dude,
So
2010.
hold on. So this is I can see now why your poetry hits like it does, dude. What I was trying to say earlier was 300 hit me a certain way. I'm comparing your poetry with how 300 hit me at first, dude. Like I'm talking it hits, bro. When you ask yourself the question, like, are people gonna like fuck with this? Are they gonna feel me on that level, dude? We are feeling you, bro. You're talking that shit.
Good,
Let
dude.
me
Good.
tell you, dude.
Good.
It just keep doing what you're doing, bro. When I first read, it just transported me back to things I've seen, things I've done. You're focusing on the little details that matter,
Yeah.
and it's shining through, bro. Like fucking keep going, dude.
Well, again,
And
it's it's just my life. It's just but it's not mine. It's like everything that we've all done, right? It's everything that we've collectively done as a group in the Marine Corps or like in the Army, Navy, Air Force, in the military period, and like no matter what military, not in the United States, but any military, right? Because people in the UK or New Zealand or Canada or whatever the case is, still relate to what we did in Afghanistan. So at the end of the day, like I just want people to feel what we all kind of went through. Like I want people to feel at the end of the day, if they read a poem of mine, I want them to feel, yes, I understand that. Even if they never went to Afghanistan and they read it, they go, damn, this is what it felt like. And then you talk to somebody out of any of those realms I just talked about, and they go, yeah, that's what it was like, because that's what I felt too.
yeah,
You know? And that's like I feel like the goal is really to have some sort of interconnected web where we all feel like there is a voice, even if we don't have the ability to articulate that ourselves, right? Because I'm not saying like I want to be this whatever, but it's like, dude,
no,
I
but
have that
somewhat you
ability
so
to do
in
this.
some
So
in
it's like,
some in some. Come on, dude, you are. This is what you're doing. We need that voice, bro. Like we can't do it on our own, dude. You got to break it down so people can understand it, dude. And you're doing that, dude. That's what I'm saying. Keep doing it, dude. People got to know this shit. I'm telling you, man.
well, that's
Real shit.
good, dude.
But all right, so you're getting over into country, man. This
Yeah.
is what are you seeing? What are you going through?
So my combat replacement, and it comes through, and a few of us go to like Alpha Company, like 2 or 3 of us go to Alpha Company, 2 or 3 of us go to Charlie Company, and like 6 of us have to go to route clearance teams. Like 2 or 3 of us go to route clearance team 3, and 2 of us go to route clearance team 2, and I go to route clearance team 2, and I go to RCT 2, and when I get to RCT 2, I get there, and basically, so it's like 4 o'clock in the morning on Camp Dwyer, right? And
Oh
there's
yeah,
like
Camp Dwyer throwing it
there's
back.
like
Okay,
there's like 12, and this wasn't when it was built either.
this is the Ghetto Dwyer.
This was January 2010 Camp Dwyer,
Okay,
and this isn't like December 2010 Camp Dwyer. This is January 2010 Camp Dwyer, right? So there's like 15 like Ospreys on the line, maybe not that many, but like 10 or like 8 or 10 like Ospreys on the line, and they're all like green blades fucking swirling, bro, like they're going, and there's all these sticks of all these Marines going in there, and I was like, this is fucking sick, dude.
yeah,
Like,
it
what
is.
is this shit? This is pretty dope. And we get in with a bunch of dudes, and they go and drop us off on this, like they take us out in the middle of the fucking desert of Afghanistan, and they drop us off at this base called CLSA. And they drop us off there, and when we got down there, we landed, and me and this other dude got out of the helo, or out of the Osprey, and we were like, all right, where the hell second CB? We had to go knock on some tents, some like infantry dudes sleeping in his like little shell tents on the
Yeah.
ground, and I had to go unlock it, and they're like, what's up? And I was like, where's second CP at? They're like, oh, they're right over there, that parking lot with all those trucks. And I was like, all right, like, we're the engineers, they're like, oh, over there. Like, I remember meeting some dude, he was smoking a cigarette. He was like, what the fuck do you want, kind of thing, And I was like,
That's
what's
like,
up,
hey, how are you over there?
bro? It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. He
Yeah.
was not happy. Like, he was like, but he was already smoking a cigarette, so he was already like awake for some reason,
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, man, like, we're the engineers. And he was like, fuck. I was like, all
Fuck
right,
you.
dude, we got
Don't
him.
even
Like,
look at me.
he was like, yeah, basically it's like over there. I was like, all right, so I went over there, and when I got there, it was a tent, and there was it was like a circus tent, and there was a bunch of Marines, 30 Marines in there, and there was a bunch. It was like basically like a parking lot of like sandbag parking lot with a bunch of like MRAPs and buffalo, like a buffalo and MRAP, a bunch of MRAPs, 6 bys and 4 by MRAPs, and like a couple Huskies.
Rolling heavy. Okay.
Yeah, because it's a route clearance team, so they're mobile. They live out of their trucks essentially. When you're a route clearance, you live out of your truck, and you're able
That's the savage life right there,
yeah,
dude.
you're able to like traverse wherever you want, go and do whatever you want, live wherever you want, and you can just move as long as you have the gas, right? As long as you have the fuel to go there,
Essentially,
you
you're a
can do
mobile gas station.
where you can do what the
Yeah.
fuck you want. Honestly, we had
Yep.
and we had a wrecker and shit, so we had a wrecker and a 7-ton, so we could do when we blew up a Husky, we would just like put that shit on like the 5-ton and like keep fucking going. Like we
That's a
would just,
different kind of life, dude, living off the
bro,
road, dude. I'm talking
bro.
the only way you can get a cold beverage is wetting up a sock, putting on
Oh
the
no no no.
AC.
Well, no, dude. Hang on a second. Well, yes, we did that on my first appointment, right? And I learned, I was like, this sucks.
The sock, it takes a
This
while.
this fucking sucks. So on my second appointment, we bought a fridge. We bought the
Smart.
last fridge on
Smart.
Leatherneck, and the Aussies were pissed off at us. They were like, "You fucking blah blah blah." They were going off on us because we bought the last fridge, and we took it back to our truck and put it in. We took out a seat in our 4x and put the fridge where a seat would go in our 4x. So
Outstanding.
we had a fridge on our second deployment, and that truck got blown up 3 times, and it was fixed within 24 to 48 hours every single time. So that fridge kept fucking running throughout the whole deployment. That was the only truck throughout our whole platoon that made it the whole way. But that's a different story for a different day, dude.
Old Faithful.
Yeah, Old
Okay.
Faithful. That's old faded line, dude. Um, so that's what's like tatted right here, but the faded line tatted right here.
I see you. Okay.
So that truck was badass. That was my call sign. My call. I was faded line actual. The truck was faded line. But anyway, on my first deployment, I was a super boot. You know what I mean? I had to shave my
All been
head.
there, bro. Come on.
Yeah, bro. I had to shave my head. They're like, you're the first time you're in country. You gotta shave your fucking head. You boot. Da da da. I get to my platoon, and they're like, you're gonna be a 50 caliber gunner, or like 50 caliber heavy
Yeah,
machine gunner.
my
And I was
brother.
like,
I was as well. I
man,
love it.
this kind of fucking sucks, you know? Like
Yeah.
I don't really know if I really want to do this. Because I was really good at sweeping. Okay, like I felt, I guess so. Let me take that back. I felt like I was really good at sweeping.
Every gunner wishes they were a dismount, bro. Come on.
Well, dude, when I trained and when I went to engineer school, when I did, I was the first person to finish all 20 of the lanes at engineer school at 100%. So I
Oh no
felt,
shit.
and I was crushing sweeping when I got to my
Got you.
unit, you know. So
Got
I
you.
felt like I was like,
Got you.
my confidence in sweeping was like
I'm tracking.
outstanding. You know, I was like, all right, I'm good at this shit. Like I can kill it. But
You must have did good on the ranges, bro.
well, I mean, I felt good there. But then they're like, yo, you're gonna be machine gunner because we need one of our gunners needs to take a step back because he's been blown up a lot and he gets another concussion, he's gonna be done. You know, and I was like, all right, so I'll be a machine gunner. So my first deployment, I was a fucking 50 cal gunner the whole
Fuck
deployment,
yeah.
and the whole deployment, man, I was
My deuce.
yeah, it was switched out between the front gun truck and the back gun, the back gun truck, the rear gun truck. So I was back and forth between those two positions, and yeah, man, throughout my first deployment, we were in Marja. They did the Marja invasion, and when I got there, they were like, I don't know, 12 days into the Marja invasion, so they were already like kind of through it a little bit. But when I got there, you know, there were still IDs going on. There was still, you know, some things happening here and there. But it wasn't anything like my second deployment. My first deployment was more or less like introductory to like, this is how this world
Yep.
works. This is how the military works when it's overseas. This is what it's like when you're in combat. You know, when you're in you know, like what they quote unquote the front lines of the American machine, right? So this is what it's like. You know, we ran out of water
Outside
once.
the wire.
Yeah, bro. Outside. That's what my first book is really about that for sure. Outside the wire. That's my first book is, bro. I don't know if did you know that?
I did
My
not,
first
dude. I'm gonna
my
have to
first
get a
book
signed copy
my
now,
first
bro.
book
Come on now.
is let's see if my camera picks it up.
You're in and out. It keeps flaring in and out. Right there. Outside the wire. That's fire. I'm gonna need that.
And then this one. Oh, here you go. That's the second one.
Got it.
That's a picture of I don't know. It doesn't come up, but anyway, that's a terrible fucking trying to get me to do. But those are my first 2 books I wrote in 2017, 2018, outside the wire, because you know that's where we lived. We lived outside the wire, you know, and that's
Dude. So when you actually do that, it hits different because you know how deployments work, dude. Not everyone does that. When you live outside the wire, you're not living at a fob.
no.
Either you're embedded with Afghan forces or you're just in a sketchy situation.
That's how we lived. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it really just hits different because you know you're at the will of Afghanistan at that point. Like
yeah, we would circle up at 360 circles.
Yep. Rocking the cord on at all times, dude. It's different when you live condition one. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to have a watch at all times. I mean, these things are, you know, second nature for us over there, but these are just things that you carry back with you at a certain point. They're like, I still, for some dude, I'm fucked up. I'll patrol my apartment at random times of the night, dude. Like I do weird shit that like was on lock for me before. Like it was just part of the way we lived. You know what I'm saying? Like having a weapon on you at all times. Just
man,
the little things, you know. But
yeah, I mean that I think that's a lot of the military though. It stays with you forever. It instills something inside of you, and especially if you're you blend that with like traumatic experiences, or you blend that with an experience like going overseas and going into an environment like a hostile environment like that, you know, that blending that with the mindset you have, and then blending that with being youthful, you know, that tears into a bank of your brain that becomes immovable. It's that stays with you for the rest of your life. I mean, that's why these, you know, these great people, you know, they have, you know, when they're in their 50s and 60s and 70s, they're doing these great things. We're like, well, what were they doing in their 20s? We're like, well, they were World War I.
I think the
You
just
know,
the tough part about especially the GWOT guys, dude, like you go into Iraq, Afghanistan, you're patrioted up, dude. 9/11 just happened, dude. You got something in your mind. You're looking to go over and kill somebody, dude, just for what happened, dude. Find and keep somebody accountable for it. And you get over there, and sometimes it's not what you expect it is.
no,
And you go through certain things. And a lot of the times when you're in that alpha mindset, you don't really believe in anxiety or depression or PTSD even. Like you don't even think that's a thing. That's just for fucking pussies that don't know how to like contain themselves or just do this and that. Now I'm not knocking on anybody, dude. Like I have PTSD. Like I'm just saying that's a mindset you have as a just aggressive Marine, dude. Let's talk about it. And then that's why it's so surprising. That's why it's affecting people so strongly. Is because first off, they don't even know what's going on with their body, dude. They don't believe in it. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Like so kind of like you are right now. I look at you and I see someone that's very self-aware. I've seen someone that's done a lot of work on himself, and you've learned a lot through that process. That's a process for I think the GWOT veteran, dude, is really getting through understanding your feelings, dude. Because listen, we're ignorant dudes that just don't really give a fuck about that shit and don't really put any time into it. So you don't know about it, you don't understand it, and when you finally realize like, oh shit, this is real, this is something that I'm going through, this is a real thing. I mean,
Well, dudes avoid change, and people avoid change. I think that it's in our nature to be comfortable and to find comfort, and then once we find comfort, we don't want to leave comfort, right? We love comfort. We like to enjoy the what comes with comfort, right? Which is like niceness and all these things that you don't want to leave, because that's not really niceness, I guess. It's more or less like a
all
complacency.
good things,
All
complacency.
good things, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it is a niceness. It is a thing that's a vibe that you really get when you're comfortable, right? But if you and that happens to Marines, and I speak on this a lot. You know, I work at a university, and I don't work a lot with veterans. I moved out of that realm, but what I'm saying is that like veterans are the pinnacle of society, in
For
my
sure,
opinion.
I agree.
But veterans stop believing in themselves once they get their DD 214, because the government says you're allowed to stop.
Damn, that's deep as shit. that's
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 true.
what I think. That's what I think
That's
it is.
true, that really happens.
That's what I think happens. So why stop, right?
I hear you
But,
completely.
but so what are we doing as a community, as a culture, as a veteran, right? Like, what are we doing to collectively to go, hey, why did I stop? Why did I stop being a fucking badass? Because there was one time where I had somebody on my fucking shoulders in the middle of the night in Afghanistan, and they fucking survived
Facts.
because I pulled them out of a truck that was on fire.
There was one time I was a fucking
So
stud. I did thing, you know
exactly,
what I'm
I
saying? Like I
did
hear you.
something that fucking mattered. It
Mattered,
didn't matter
yeah.
in the big scheme of the American machine. Fuck that. It mattered for him
Yeah.
in that moment, right? So why
You
the
won
fuck did I stop
you
being
won the
that?
moment. I hear that
So why
completely.
did why did my caliber stop being that high? Why did I stop holding myself that fucking standard? And I'm not saying that for me. I'm saying that because I hold myself that fucking caliber. I do that every fucking day. I'm asking the fucking community Why the
Bam.
fuck don't we hold ourselves to that fucking standard? Why is that caliber lost on us as soon as we get back into fucking society and we think that we're not able to handle that shit?
I can't even answer that, dude. That's just something it's almost like programmed into us, dude. It's not something we ever talk about. It's not
Right.
something that's
So what are we
accepted.
doing? You know,
Yeah,
what are we
facts.
doing? We're waking up every day, going and doing our fucking basic ass job, getting $750 a week,
Still,
fucking
still,
doing
you
whatever the fuck
gotta,
we
you
want.
got, you gotta admit, dude, something must be going wrong. We got 22 guys going out a day, man. What is it? What is it that these guys are believing that's making them think this shit? I mean, it can't just be a DD 214. It's got to be something in
Well, no, it's
themselves.
I think that it's there's vulnerabilities within us that we fail to acknowledge, right? And if we fail to acknowledge vulnerabilities in ourselves, then we're failing ourselves in growth, right? We're failing ourselves in the understanding of who we could be one day, the understanding of who we were one day, that one time where we did hold ourselves to that standard and we did adhere to the caliber of man that we know we could be, or the caliber of human that we know we could be, right? So at the end of the day, dude, it's a question of like, why are we refusing to acknowledge that there's an issue within ourselves instead of or
No, I think people are at the end of the day are afraid of being judged, dude. They don't want to
yeah,
put their
people are
shit
definitely
out
afraid
there.
of being judged. You know what I mean? Definitely. I mean, there's definitely people that are afraid of being judged for saying, I can't. I have a gambling addiction. And that may be a bad thing, or they may be an alcoholic, and that may be
Whatever it is, dude.
whatever it is. They may be a fucking homosexual, dude, and
Whatever, dude.
whatever,
That's big right now,
and their
dude.
family and people around them do not believe in what the
Which would
and
suck,
what that
dude.
is,
And you know what
which
I'm
would
saying? That
suck.
would suck, dude. I can
But
understand that shit, but I
but
mean,
at the end of the day, they feel like their escape is the suicide, right? And so the question in here is like, why? Why is that? And we talked about why earlier, and do you feel like that? Why do people feel like that's their route? And it's an escape, and we all know because we've
you're
dealt
right.
with
It
the
is.
understanding of death. We understand how it works. We understand that it is right there. So we take it, and we run, and we don't worry about it afterwards. But at the end of the day, we have to be vulnerable so we can talk about
No one
these
wants
things,
to do
right?
that. I think that comes
Right,
down to that. I think it comes down
right.
to being vulnerable and understanding. No one wants to put out what they do wrong at. It's something that I mean, shit. I didn't want to do it, dude. I dragged my feet before I like got help and like started going to talk to someone and did the programs and worked on myself. It wasn't easy. I had to have someone sit me down and be like, listen,
Right,
this is going on, this is going on. You got to want it at the end of the day. Hey,
right. When I was,
real
yeah,
quick break. We're gonna pause real quick and
yeah,
we'll get back to it in 5.
son,
So yeah, dude. Honestly, just talking about this stuff at all, dude, because it's not talked about enough, and it's not fun to talk about, dude, because yeah, the shit sucks at the end of the day, dude. It's hard shit. A lot of people don't understand. It's hard to go into like a environment where we talk about our stuff and then get out of it and just be normal again. The stuff hangs with you a little bit. It's stuff you got to work at, man. And I think we're really starting the conversation, making it so it's has less stigma behind it, and it's normal to talk about, candidly. But yeah, let's shift into getting home from the first deployment and getting ready to the second one, dude, because that's something that transition right there, you really don't get enough time back home, first off,
no,
and you're not the same person that left. And I think at first people see that, and then they hear you're going on another deployment, and they're like, "Fuck!" So it's really hard for the people back home to comprehend us at that time,
that's
and it's
true.
hard
Yeah,
for us to talk to them, dude, because what are we going to tell them?
yeah. I mean, I know when it's like on my surgery, when a deployment came back, and like so I was married at the time, so I was
Okay,
living with my ex-wife, and we were living in our apartment when I was going through my surgery, and I went on deployment. Obviously, I came back, and when I got back, I got a new house in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I moved in a new house, and um, that was nice. I had a dog and a house. And I felt good. I was like trying to
be
create.
what you knew as normal, or
Yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
I was like trying to create the idea of what normal was, right? Like you get a dog, you get a wife, you get a house, you get a car, you do your job every day, you come home, you put out mulch, you mow your lawn,
Yep.
you make dinner every night, you do steak on the
That
grill,
that
you make
perfect Hallmark
potatoes,
car, dude.
bro. Yeah,
Yep.
and you have an office that has all your shit in it. You have a guest room, you have a guest bathroom, you have, it was very like,
Would you say you felt complete when you got there, dude?
I
Or
mean,
was
I felt in at moments I felt that there it was, but I also felt like this isn't this hasn't
maybe not
ending.
you
Well, this has
or
an expiration date,
got?
because
Oh, that's okay.
like this has an expiration date for sure because I have to go back to Afghanistan. So what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna be cooking the steak and fucking hang out my dog and doing all that. Then like I'm gonna be in a fucking MRAP,
Yeah.
fucking in Afghanistan on some fucking road somewhere or some fucking field somewhere. Like so, it was very like weird. Like I tried taking advantage. I try to live in the moment, right? I try to live in that moment of right here, right now. So like I didn't try to think about, well, that's gonna happen in a couple months or a month, or 10 months or a year or 9 months or whatever it was. I don't
But
get
still,
back
what
to
you just said's
training, and
hard,
then
dude. You're living like you have an expiration date.
you do, you definitely, you
You,
definitely, and not only that, like we knew that I know. So I guess that when I'm looking back, we didn't. I personally didn't think about where we would go on our next deployment, right? Because Sangin didn't take off yet. Sangin became a thing in like the fall of 2010, like October, November. Like that became like they started losing a lot of Marines. Like 3-5 started going through it. Um, there's a lot of Marines that like that are in the community now that were part of 3-5 and stuff. So they were going through it, so it became like it became not from that, but I think that the
no,
military
but
objective before that was Sangin and
well, that I feel like
that
that
area
gave Sangin its name, dude. I mean, for such a prestigious unit such as
for
three
sure.
five to get, I mean, I think they became combat ineffective over there because of the IEDs that they were getting over there, man. That was double amp, double amp, double amp, and for someone to feel that, I can't imagine, man. Like, I mean, Sangin was Sangin, man. That was
So
our Mogadishu.
yes.
That was our,
So when I guess like we that summer of 2010, I before Sangin or anything, you know what I mean? It was like people were still talking about Marja and stuff like that. Like we got back from Afghanistan and people like congratulate us, whatever the case was, blah blah. Like that summer I spent surfing with my cousin in Surf City and Topsail. Like I just spent in Emerald Isle. I just spent like going ham. I just spent surfing and trying to do my best surfing. I always grew up surfing and stuff, but like I tried to do my best, like being out there and like taking my mind off of like whatever was to come, and I knew it was gonna happen, so I tried to just like have fun when I could, because my cousin was a motor T operator and he was part of headquarter battalion, and he lived in North Carolina as well. So we both hung out, a lot in North Carolina. And he was married. He's still married to the same woman to this day. But basically, like they lived around, or he lived around, and when we would go surf that summer was really like chill. You know what I mean? It was really really good summer for me. Like I felt good. I felt like, all right, well, I've been kind of tested in like the battles of like combat, kind of. I was a machine gunner in Marja. I went on a bunch of patrols. There was things that happened. You know what I mean? Like bad things that kind of evolved from little moments and things. There was things that happened. And like memorable experiences and things that happened. And that summer was really good. And then the fall came and they're like, all right, we're gonna break up the platoons and this and that. But this is what they did. Because they started to dissolve the tank battalion. And what
yep,
happened was they were like, all right, well, the tankers are going to be the drivers and the gunners, and the engineers are going to be the VCs and the dismounts for the route clearance teams. Because in Marja, we had 4 in our unit. And when we go up, when we go back to Afghanistan, we're going to have 8. And we want to have 4 Marja and 4 doing other things. And when that was happening, we got a bunch of new tankers, and everybody was like fearing. Son, what are you doing? Get back in there. I'll be down a little bit, buddy. Come on. Go with your mom. It's all right. Come on. What? Please. Come on. So everybody was like kind of fearing like, oh, I don't want to get cut over to the tankers, you know what I mean? Like, because there was two units. There was one company that was full of tankers, one company that was full of engineers, right? So one company ran by tankers, like higher up tankers, like first sergeants, gunnies, and lieutenants, and then one company ran by like engineers, kind of, right? But so we had to kind of train the tankers on how to do route clearance. Okay, buddy. Okay, I'll be out there in a second. Okay, I'll be out there in a second. Sorry, dude.
No, you're fine.
So like there was all it was everyone was was kind of like fearing I don't want to get cut over to the tankers, kind of thing. And tankers, they were at the end of the day, they were great Marines,
Facts.
but at the time, you're like, well, fuck these guys. I don't want to be a part of like the tanker. Like, I don't want some fucking tanker gunny telling me that I got to go do some shit about some IEDs that he doesn't fucking know about because he's a fucking tanker and he doesn't ever experience this type of shit. And I have, and I don't want to, I don't want to put myself in danger because of their hubris or their ego because they're a tanker and they're a gunny or when they have rank, whatever. So I was like, that was always like the biggest concern for everyone, right? And and nobody wanted to get really involved in that. So we all did our best to kind of stay, but a lot of them went over to the tanks, went over to the tank unit. I stayed with the engineers. I stayed with route clearance team too, and I stayed as the lead truck dismount. And I was a dismount, like I was designated the dismount for our second deployment. This was in like I don't know, like December, November 2010, right? So I was like designated a dismount. So I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna be a dismount because I'm, I had very, high confidence that I was very good at that. We'd go out on simulations and stuff out on, the tank trails, and we'd go out and do simulations that would be set up by, our higher ups and stuff like that, or whatever the case was. I'd always perform very well, out there, with whatever the case was, you know what I mean? Like, like
I think that's a real reflection of you as a person, man, because the Marine Corps dismount is the best at what he does to a certain degree, and it really, you have to be good at everything. You have to have common sense too. You gotta know what to do in a situation, and you can't take the time to think about it. You need to do that first thing that comes to your head.
Right.
And that it tells a lot about you, man. So okay, so this is significant, dude. I mean, a lot of guys go through this in the enlisted ranks. Now, where's your head at?
So I was pretty happy, honestly. I was honestly like, this was like at this point in time, I was at my happiest, right, in the Marine Corps, because I've put the NJP, I put the prank phone call, I put all that bullshit behind me, right? Because everybody, when I went on that deployment after coming back from a surgery, and I kind of came back from that, and I was a 50 cal gunner, and I did my deployment, and I did my shit, and I showed that I had fucking the grit to go out there and be like, fuck y'all, man. I came out here, I told y'all I come out here.
You put that varsity jacket on.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna come out here and do it with y'all. And I showed up, and I spent the last fucking, 120 days out there with these dudes, last 4 months with them. And for like 3 of those months, we fucking like we were like ran out of water at some point. Like, it was, there was like times, it was very harsh times, and it was, when I got back, nobody fucked with me about my bullshit that happened in 2009. Nobody really fucked with me about any of that at all. And if they did, they were just like a real big douchebag. You know what I mean? And then everybody around was like,
really, bro?
Yeah, like because I was one of the when I got to my unit, we were the first to we were like the second wave of engineers to go to Mobility Assault Company, which was called MAC, and we weren't Alpha, we weren't Charlie, we weren't Bravo, we were fucking MAC. Like, that's what we were. We were Mobility Assault. We're not a line platoon. We're not a MU platoon. We roll around in MRAPs, and we got fucking heavy guns, and we get out and we go. Yeah, we got heavy guns. We live out in this bitch. And we dismount. We do what the fuck we want. You know what I'm saying? When we find IDs, we throw some C4 on that bitch and walk away. You know what I mean? So
talk that shit.
Yeah. So we lived. So that was like, it was tight, to be that kind of. So when I got there, I was like, this is tight. But then all that bullshit happened with me. So then I really got I got pulled back when everybody else really moved forward with the propulsion of like the unit, and they got to go train at like Virginia, and they got to go do all these cool things while I was sitting back, NJP'd with a broken shoulder and having to like surf and do bullshit all day. You know what I mean? Like, it sucked for like that first year and a half in the Marine Corps. It sucked. But then finally I had surgery and I went to Afghanistan. And then finally I got back and nobody fucked me. And it was very like, everybody just stopped talking about all that shit. And everybody's like, all right, this dude is like I kind of like caught up with everybody. You know what I
No, you
mean?
showed your worth, bro. You
Yeah,
you,
like
did, you didn't get up. You didn't
I
give
caught
up.
up
You
basically.
got punched in the face. You got back up, and you fucking showed this ain't it, bro. And
Right. So I was like, I'm here for it. So like, so then basically we're like, all right, who needs volunteers to go to California for Advon? So I volunteered for Advon to go to California. I went like 3 weeks early to California. We went out to 29 Palms, bro. I was out there from like the middle, like the first or second week of January, all the way to like the first week of March. I was like, oh my
yucky.
god,
Ew.
gross, dude. It sucked. And we were doing all types of ranges and all types of crazy shit on 29 Palms out at that little fucking, Camp Warrior or whatever the fuck they call it. You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean? We're out there
Fucking
eating
ragtag.
eating from that damn taco truck every night,
Oh,
dude. I had my iPad. We go to the laundromat and watch like the NBA. I think it was like the
oh yeah.
NBA playoffs at the time. You know what I mean?
Been there,
It
bro.
was 2011. It was like January, February 2011, and then we got back and in March, and basically we had that month of March. I got promoted to corporal. And we had that month of March to like do nothing because I remember I got NJP, so I got non-rec for like 6 months or some shit. You know what I mean? So if everybody else I knew was a
That
fucking
whole
corporal.
process sucks so
Dude,
bad, dude.
everybody I knew was a corporal. Like everybody knew picked up Lance, everybody knew picked up corporal before me. But see, I left the Marine Corps as a sergeant, and everybody else left as a corporal. So I was like, oh, I feel good. Fuck y'all. You know what I'm saying? So it did feel good. But basically like that time with that month we got back was very like chill. Nobody fucked around. We just did whatever we wanted to. I went and saw like a Wiz Khalifa concert. I smoked hella bud. I
Word,
went
word.
my ex-wife to see his concert. I saw Mac Miller. Rest in
Fucking
peace,
A.
Mac Miller.
R.I.P. to a real one there.
Yeah, dude. I saw him. He opened for Wiz in Raleigh, North Carolina. It was like April something. And I went and saw that. And then, a couple days later, bro, I was on a plane to fucking, Manas, Kyrgyzstan, bro. And I was there for a couple days.
Fucking
We were in Afghanistan, bro. And then met up with our team in our second deployment. And then that's when, I feel like that's when shit, like I remember if you look at my camera reel, like no shit on my camera roll that I have from 2011, all of the pictures are from when we first land in Afghanistan all the way until like we meet our interpreter. And there's like random ones in there from like me seeing like Marsoc dudes come land and helos and shit. I took pictures and stuff, but like random things, but never anything ever significant. But the very first like week that we were in country, I took a good amount of photos. But after our first mission, I was like, I don't want to remember any of this. I
Yeah,
don't
that
want to
happens
take
a
a
lot,
photo.
guys. Happens a
I
lot
don't
to
want to
guys.
take a photo of this. I don't want to remember this fucking place. I
Yeah,
hate this
I
shit.
know
I
that
don't
feeling
I hate
significantly.
myself. I hate everything here. Like, what is this? Like, and after that moment, and mind you, that was our first mission. We were only in country for like 2 weeks. And I was like, we had 6.5 months to go, dude. And I was like, fuck me, like
You
what the
articulated that perfectly, dude,
I was
because
like,
it's a
what the
feeling that
fuck?
washes over you when you just see the world of fuck up close, dude. And it's just like, wow, this is real. This is a real thing. And it makes you question everything, man. And that's another whole fucking podcast, dude, with what that does to you. Keep in mind, we're young guys at this point,
Oh, dude,
dude.
yeah, I was 20. I was
You know
22.
what
I
I'm
mean, I
saying?
turned 21 behind a 50 cal in March on my first deployment.
Same here.
I
Same
turned
here.
21.
Fucking wild.
And on my second deployment, on that first mission, bro, this is what happened. I mean, I won't go into details on like the end of it, but like on the beginning of it, it was pretty funny at the beginning of it. We're rolling out. We're taking like a bunch of like Navy dudes to go up to this base up in Nowzad, and like the base of the mountains in Afghanistan. And they're taking them up to these like this base. I think they're Navy Seabees. We're driving them up there, and the Navy Seabees like pop a tire or some shit like that. So I was like, all right, well, we'll as the lead truck, we'll roll security back there with the wrecker, and we'll go see what's up with them. So we roll back there with the lead truck, and I hop out of the truck. I go up to the side of the 7-ton. I'm like, hey, what the fuck's going on, blah blah. And like a few of them hop out, and we start taking contact from like, dude, I don't know how far away it was. It was pretty far away. Like they weren't hitting anywhere close, but you could hear it. Like you could hear the like the not the ricochet, but you could hear like the impact, I guess, because it was in front of us. Like the impact was in front of us. Like that's how far away they were. Like the impact was landing in front of us, so you could hear it, and like it would echo back. And I got behind the mine roller, not like ducking, but I stood there and I got behind the mine roller and I like started glassing it with my ACOG, and I was like looking for it. And there was like one little structure with like some bushes and a tree way the fuck out there.
Yeah,
And I assume he was there, you know what I mean?
of course.
And I look up at my 50 cal gunner, and he pulls out his binos and he pulls out his shit, and he's like, and these are, Marine Corps, lead gun truck fucking binos, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's like, these things, he's like,
Coated in sand,
yeah, he's like,
one eyeglass cracked. Yeah.
bro, but this dude goes, yeah, he's in the bushes with an AK, and he's like, he's fine. I was like, all right, bro, well, take him out or whatever,
Yeah.
And he
Like that
takes
bitch
him out
up.
or whatever, and it was pretty funny. He goes, all right, I took him out, and he fired 50, go bop 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 bop, he did that real quick, and it was all done. And then I look back, and none of the Navy Seabees are anywhere to be found, right? And I'm like, what happened? Like, where'd they all go? And they're like, oh, is everything okay? Like, blah blah blah. Like they were like
They dipset.
they dipped out. They're freaking out. And I was like, and I thought, and in that moment, I was like, damn, that's kind of sad. You know what I mean? Like these people are really like they're terrified. I
Yeah.
could see that. And I was like, listen, everything's okay. Like
We took care of it, guys.
he did what he needed to do. Like everything
Yeah.
is all right. Like
This is what we do.
it's everything is good. You guys can get up. We'll change the tire. Everything's good to go. And that's when somebody else came over and handled the tire and shit and did everything. And then we just sat there and everything was good to go for the rest of the day. And then we went on. And then we got into some other shit for the rest of the day. Like I don't know if I made a bad decision. I made a decision. I made a decision to go one way or the other way.
That's all you need to say, dude. You made the
Yeah.
decision. At least you made a decision
Yeah,
in
so
a situation.
we went one way when we could have went the other way, but the other way was super sketchy. So we went one way, and it did end well. Let's just say that, right? So it didn't end well. And after that, I was like, yeah, I don't want to remember any of this shit. I don't want
A
to take
lot
any
of
photos
now
of this shit.
I don't want to hinder on something that sucks, but what you said right there is something a lot of guys go through, man. I mean, they teach us not to follow our same tracks, but you got to understand, in Afghanistan, there's not many other ways. Okay. Like it's not a very accessible place. So a lot of people get that survivor's guilt when they make that wrong decision, that wrong call, dude. But I mean,
Right.
you can't kill yourself on that, dude.
No,
First
that's
of
what
all,
I'm saying. I don't want to say it's a wrong or a right one, right? Because at the end of the day, the consequences are tremendous. And
sure.
I've accepted that fully within my life, and I've accepted what happened. I mean, I made the decision, but I didn't pull that trigger, right? So at the end of the day, there's levels to that shit, right? There's tiers to it, and there's other people that I know in my life that deal with heavier things than I deal with, right? That because of the tiers of it, right? They didn't make that decision to go this way or that way, but they made that decision to pull that trigger, right?
Yep.
But also, and this is where it gets fucky, because I'm the one who makes the decision to pull the trigger, right? At the end of the day, when I'm the lead gun truck commander, and I'm the guy in the
on you.
BCC, I'm the one who says, yeah, make that happen, get rid of that,
Yep.
And when you get rid of that, it's, yes, you're valid in your decision, because that person is using a weapon, but that person isn't, the standard of what you would expect that person to be, right? So you're
talking about the human aspect of it and what we are as Marines. Almost like ROE was met, so we're entitled to what we're entitled to. But I mean you can look at that 1,000 different ways, I guess.
Right. So it's like, that was our first mission, and with all of that, it was very overwhelming. And
of course,
and when that happens, it's and of course, we get all of our scraps and we get out of there, and we make the left instead of the right decision. Instead of going right, which I said initially, we go left, and everything is fine, and everything goes smoothly. But
of course,
my fear was this, is that if we go left, there's a bank on the right side of the trucks, and if it was like a road that was like this like unpaved path kind of thing next to some cornfield that was next to a bank. So like if we would have taken that path, it would have been sketchy, and it would have been next to an embankment that was like 25 feet down into like a little.
No, it just sounds like that's where you would have blown up somebody. So
right, yeah. So like if we were to go down that, and you roll a truck and your gunner rolls over with you in the truck, you're facing dire consequences for your gunner, right? You're facing dire consequences for everybody in the truck that's rolling over with you, because let's be honest, it's not everybody's, wearing their seatbelts on or bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I don't really know if I want to go left. I want to go right because it's a smoother drop. It's easier for us to go down. Blah blah. We hit an IED. A bunch of other bullshit unfolds. We get ambushed, all this other shit. So it's like that was my first experience of like manning the platoon. Like I was in control of the platoon because again, so I skipped over some things, but like when we were in California, some things happened with our lead truck VC, basically like the guide of our platoon, the sergeant. Some things happened with him, with all of us overseas. Like we had this huge brawl, and he like accidentally punched a sergeant major in the face. He got NJP'd. He got taken out of our platoon, but he
These things happen.
recommended right. He recommended me because I was the dismount for his truck. He recommended me that I take over the VC guide / like position for
Yep.
that for
On
for
the BFT,
platoon.
my friend, making the calls.
Right. So that's what I grew into as into my second deployment. And on my very first fucking call, or I guess my second, because I called the code turnaround to go help those CBs. But on my second call, I guess like I made that call to go that one direction. And that was like I was in control of the entire platoon, and from that point on, it was I didn't second guess it. I just went into shit. I said, fuck it, we're gonna go into it. I didn't say I didn't pussyfoot around things after that. It got very much I said, if we're gonna get hit, if we're gonna get blown up, if anybody's gonna do shit, we're gonna do it in a fucking manner of like and like force of action. Like we're gonna move fast and swift and we're gonna move, right? And we're not gonna like sit here and go, should we go left? Should we go right? Should we do this? Should we go that? We're gonna go, we're just gonna fucking push through it. And
Fucking A, kick the door down.
yeah, so like after that, I mean, with our trucks, we, if we like saw like a path that we were like, oh, there's an IED over there was moments, bro, we were like, fuck that IED, and we would just go over the dude's field and like crush over a corner of his house with our fucking mine roller, and we are like, fuck you, dude, we're gonna roll over your house because we're not even gonna deal with the IED. We don't have time. The sun is setting, and we cannot sit out here because we will get shot at all night.
Do you hear all
And
the things you're talking?
Do
you hear all the things you're talking about right now? You're giving me the imagery of the moment and showing how serious you took it, because these are all the things that blow through your brain in that position, dude. You're overthinking. You have to calculate I feel like that's why it's such a beautiful thing to witness when you see a VC, a driver, and a gunner connect all on the same level, and you operate at such a high level, dude. At such a you see perfection constantly, dude. Watching a convoy just do its damn thing, like at the height of a deployment was just one of the best things I've ever witnessed, dude. Just banging on all cylinders with your boys, dude. There's not a
you're
better
average
feeling.
guys. You're just normal fucking guys, and that's that's the biggest thing that people don't understand is that like hang on, son, close the door. The thing that people don't understand is that like I'm not a Navy SEAL, I'm not a Green Beret, but at the end of the day, I spent a lot of time overseas making very consequential decisions that could have led to fucking bad things, but they did not, fortunately they did not. But at the end of the day, like I was given the opportunity to do that every single day. It wasn't, oh, we're gonna go on this mission this week, you're gonna be switched out, whatever, we're not gonna do this, or there's was one big mission that we're gonna go do and we're planning for the next 6 months for it. No, dude, it's not anything like that. It's not going through crazy shit or whatever the case is. It's literally just every day
becomes such a normal.
Can you go left or can you go right? It's not fucking shooting Osama bin Laden in the face. It's not Chris Pratt playing you in a movie. It's if you go left or if you go right, this is going to be consequential for the Marines in your platoon and the Afghans that are living here if you make a wrong decision. Because if you make a wrong decision, they could go home without a child. They could go home without a wife. They could go home without a father. And it's not them shooting fucking guns. It's not them shooting the guns. It's us being put in positions where we have to defend ourselves because we're threatened by the forces around them, right? And they're getting caught involved in the middle of this, and they're either forcibly used weapons to fight against us because the Taliban has captured their family in the dead of the fucking night, or It's the actual fucking Taliban around them,
Exactly.
utilizing their house and utilizing them as a decoy and utilizing them as farmers, because the Taliban knows our fucking rules of engagement. They know that we cannot shoot a man with a fucking with a farming utensil, tool in his hand, with a hoe, whatever the case is, in his hand, a rake or whatever. And he, so they use that, and they use that around them, right? But not only that, they use the things that they know will torture us. Like, I don't know, man. They feel like they fuck with us, bro, you know what I'm saying?
They weren't
a
dumb enemy, bro.
No. I have a poem that's like, something. It's in one of my first two books, something along the lines of like, our enemies are brilliant, something along the lines of that. It talks on that, because they really were, at the end of the day, they really understood how to disrupt the
flow,
the flow of how Marines operated inside the green zone, or operated inside.
And you get the reason this means so much is because of how little these people have. So it really is all just skill at a certain point. I mean, these guys have been fighting for decades.
Well, my thing was always like, oh, I'm sorry to go.
No, go ahead.
Well, my thing was always like, when people, I was told one time, Taliban comes in 3:00 in the morning, tells you to go connect this battery pack. If you don't go connect this battery pack, I'm gonna shoot your fucking wife in the head with this AK-47, and you're not gonna be able to do anything about it, because who are you?
I'm a Taliban,
and you're like,
you're gonna watch. Yeah,
you're like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna go do that, and then they go do that, and then you have Overwatch on a 50 cal, some 19-year-old kid, and he's like, hey, corporal, I got this guy. He's connecting a battery pack on his ID. And corporal's like, light him up, bop, 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 and it's and that's, and then but you don't know that, right, when you're 19 or whatever. But when you get out,
you're all GI Joe at that point.
Yeah, you're kind of in this thing, but I always tried to be more understanding of that when I was overseas in Afghanistan. When I was, especially my second deployment, especially after our first mission, because after our first mission is very like real, and it really brought me down to earth, and it really showcased to me like a lot of the capabilities of what warfare is about, right? And I don't know. The second deployment was definitely like the Wild West, man. It was a whole.
Yeah, but you're right. When you start really understanding the situation, you become a much more dangerous warrior. When you actually are cognizant with the things that are going on around you, and you're not just, fuck these towel heads, we're blowing whoever's in the way down.
And I think that's what a lot of what like the Navy SEALs and the Green Berets they do. Sure. They give them credit, because I do give them credit for that, is because they do create, or they allow you to build an awareness of yourself inside that combat environment. So you look at it from an external point of view, instead of looking at it from the micro. You're looking at it from the macro. You're looking at it from an expanded point of view, so you get it from a higher perspective. And when you get it from a higher perspective, you can see how the enemy operates. You can see how the politics operate. You can see how all this operates and coexist with one another. And then you can see how you operate inside of that. And then you go, okay, now let me see how I can manipulate myself inside of all these other realms.
So true. So true. So bro, we're going on 3 hours. So I'm gonna put a bookmark on us right there. I'm gonna call this part 1. And when we come back and talk, I kind of want to get into the meat and potatoes of coming back to civilian life after something so powerful.
That's pretty good, dude. no, because I mean, at the end of the day, like, I've been writing poetry now for a long, since 2017. I published my first book in the end of 2017, and I've been on like radio shows, and I've been on
I've noticed, bro.
I've been on things, and I've talked to people and things, and like I always go on fucking tangents, dude, unfortunately, but like but at the end of the day, like, I mean, I forgot where I was fucking going with this, but I was gonna say something about this and yourself.
It'll come back to you.
And what we were just talking about, and how I don't know, man. We definitely talked on some good things. I feel like I've definitely
do me a favor, bro.
Good things though, dude.
I'm gonna ask you to do something for us, dude. Could you pick your favorite poem and read it to us, just so I can give my listeners
I don't know if
something
I have a
that
favorite one because I feel like my favorite one would be the one about my son. But I mean, if you want, I could read one that's more in line of like with Afghanistan or something like that. I mean, all right,
I'd love that, dude.
so check this out. So I have, let me see if I can see it. So I have 4 books in front of me. All four of
Yep.
these books are my books, right?
Yep.
Oh my god. So maybe I
We
should just
got
turn
you.
this off real quick. Maybe I'll just do this. Choose virtual background. No.
There you go.
Boom. All right, bro. So this book or this one.
Oh, I love that cover.
All right, we'll do that one. You didn't have to go any further with that. All right, dude. So, but you know what, though, dude? This one. I'll read
Then
it.
give me this one. I feel I want go for that.
Here. All right, now that we've already narrowed down to 2, which one do you want, dude? This
The
one's
right one
more
looks
like
pretty. Give me the one on the right.
this one.
No, the other one.
This one. All right, dude. Now we have to narrow this one down because I'm so indecisive. I'm such a piece of shit. Sorry.
I am too.
Dude, so there's one poem in the beginning that I should read. That's like an introductory poem.
Please do.
That's not a
Please do.
numbered or anything, but it's on here.
Please do.
Son, please shut the door. All right, when they go pick the Lion King. All right. All right, so this one's the introductory one, right? This one is the definitely introductory one. But I guess I'll blur my background now that I haven't. Now that I haven't done it,
Go for it.
10 years ago, we fought for their ability to govern their own. 10 years later, we're evacuating embassies from imminent threat of Taliban territorial control. How did we let it slip? How did we let it go? Designed to forever lose from the beginning 20 years ago with no clear goal. Just remove the Taliban and then give A&P, A&A control.
Boom.
All decisions that inadvertently played their role in shaping how the next generation views, discusses, approaches, and fights. For we are the ones that now lead and write. We, the GWAT Knights.
Boom. Fuck yeah. I love it.
All right, so I'll read one more. I don't know. This one, people kind of tend to take this one.
The wrong way. If so,
Yeah.
read it.
All right. Let me put this back on because this one's about Afghanistan, like right on. All right, so people really do tend to take this one the wrong way, and I don't know
Perfect.
why. But maybe it's because they don't understand what the term the
That's
graveyard of
what I'm
empires
saying.
means.
Yeah.
So here we go. Number 20. 10 years later, I find myself questioning the motives and reasons my buddies sacrificed for. What was it all worth when the Taliban retake control? This is how the non-vets felt, I tell myself, as I see it all unfold. Why is it when we leave, everything seems to go, as if their constraints were our foot patrols and our advising roles? Farmers with pitchforks is what you're told. Mass misinformation is how we were sold.
Yeah.
Youthful, draining poppy fields, another generation of giving souls. Death scours and collects as we pay the toll. IEDs erupt and our youth is torn. Friends scattered in pieces, same day their child is being born. We know not love, only forced bloodshed and scorn. Nothing is here. Endless days wafting in the haze, endless nights where we, the devils, take flight, escaping reality for seconds if only to come back to the light. Unimagined life becomes once we lose our respect. 10 years later, nothing has changed. Just remove the troops, it goes back insane. 20 years ago gave birth to our war. Unknown to us were the shared experiences that split our core. With that, along came the brotherly bonds that were forged. 20 years later, our hearts no longer favor the conflict we once saw. A losing battle, in which so much youth was dissolved. Where do we go from here? An answer I pursue to resolve. The graveyard of empires. Etch another name, for it's one of the greats. Welcome to the cemetery, the United States.
Bam. Ladies and gentlemen, Sergeant Justin Eggen, thank you for coming at us tonight, giving us some great content. Part 1. We'll have him on again, hopefully. Fucking A. He's got 10 books. Go grab one. Give him some support. I love it. Once again, hey, Justin, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. We'll get up soon. Semper Fi, hoorah, kill. Rah.